Hello, 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 friends. Nicholas here with DIVO-Ted Talks, Devoted Talks, however you want to say it, where we take ancient wisdom and practices through a modern lens and experience to help you and those that you love and suffering in your personal and greater worlds alike. And I wanted to say Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. And I know that I think I might have released or recorded another one already that did not acknowledge that. Maybe I did. I don't know. It's been a lot, and we'll talk about that. But Happy Pride Month. And I'm in a good mood because the day that I'm recording this is the day after one of our first and third Thursday LGBTQIA plus classes. And it was great. It was fun. It was new people. And it was just really good vibes and energy. And I really appreciated it. And I have been appreciating it. One, I was raised in an area that didn't have a very vibrant, we did have a lot of gay people, but was very segregated as far as status and whatnot in DC. Like, for instance, I was a bit huskier when I was younger, and I did have more of a different looking face when I was holding more weight. And so when I was in DC, I would get kind of shooed away. And I mean, of course, I was young and I probably had no business being being there. Um, I was 21 some of the times. I think I was underage some of the times too. I can't remember. But it was I wasn't very popular when I was bigger, and I remember that. And then I remember how much I lost weight and all of a sudden it changed, and so it became more about looks and aesthetics than quality or any further understanding of who a person was. So anyway, that's just completely different. So I use that as a juxtaposition about wanting community and wanting to feel a part of gay stuff. And that's easy for people who are queer to understand when I say that, but there are people out there who may not get that, especially if you exist in a majority and your people are the majority of people that are out there, if that makes any sense, right? You don't have to look very far to find someone like you. And if you have ever been in a space where you're the only one, then you know what it feels like to feel isolated because you don't have people who necessarily speak your language, metaphorically speaking, and, literally speaking. But there's not as much identity or ease of finding that identity. And, there's just things I can talk about as a queer person talking with another queer person that other people don't get what I'm saying, right? And there's this common understanding of the world or the way things are. And I wish community and tribe for everybody. So anyway, I've been able to find it. And what I've loved most about it is, I think I might have talked about this before at some point, that I'm used to operating in mostly gay boy spaces, with the gays, as well as, sometimes lesbians, but not the greater alphabet that we have, the alphabet mafia, as we jokingly call it sometimes. Um, and so it's been really cool to meet a lot of people who are on the greater rainbow spectrum that we offer and have them here and just getting to know them and experience new um, people and new ways of moving in the world by sharing space together at the same time. It's a beautiful thing and it's a lovely thing. But what I want to talk about is pride at the essence of what pride is. Pride is knowing who you are and not forsaking that because you enjoy being who you are. Now, I don't think people who harm other people at the depths of it actually enjoy being who they are. Like, if you are a person who subjugates others, who makes others less than, I don't think that feels good because it feels like somebody's going to take it from you at some point, right? You can't be in a position like that with that perspective without being fearful of somebody coming and usurping. Like, truly, it is not a great place to be. And what does that mean? Well, those people will fight tooth and nail to contain or to keep gaining that power, that notoriety, that fame, or whatever, but it has a cost, right? You should have pride in who you are, but you being proud of who you are should never and does not or could not take away from somebody else's, right? Like, one of the big things is why do they get a Pride Month? Nobody said you can't have your own Pride Month. Go have one, but why are you making one because you think us having one makes you less than? Like, what about that makes makes you feel like you need your own. Like, I don't care if you have your own, but why do you feel that you need that? That's the question. Why would you fight for that if, in fact, you were proud of who you are, right? Like, it's just, do I need a month to be proud of who I am? No, but it is nice to bring the community together for that. Yeah, so like we could go on many, many soapboxes about this, but I want to keep talking about being proud of who you are and the authenticity in that, right? I'm not saying you should go around and abuse people. I'm not saying you should go around and harm others. But what I am saying is if you love you and you love life and or other beings out there, you can be proud of who you are without sacrificing the love or, you know, connection that you can have with others. And so, what am I trying to get at here? Pride in the sense of gay pride or black pride or whatever group pride that there is doesn't have to make anybody less to be who they are. Now, that's not the same as people fighting for equal rights if they are people, right? And we know that people are people, but there's a, you know, indifference and a blind deference to the fact that the law changed, so everything's fine, without asking the people who live in that skin or that people that live in that lifestyle what their experience is in that lifestyle. Right. My favorite is, well, I don't see that, so it doesn't happen. Right. Versus maybe I'm not able to see all things at all times. And that if I am having somebody that I know, trust, and or love telling me that there is a difference of experience, that I should believe that. Yoga and Ayurveda are calling us to dinacharya, to consistent, solid practice, so that we are clear enough to be able to understand that without too much work or distorting it. One of the hardest parts about all of this is that emotions can distort things. Our belief systems can distort things. And some people, and I am a feelings-based person, like I'm a vibes person, I like science, but I don't care what those numbers say if it doesn't give me the right feeling, right? Like if I get the heebie-jeebies from something, it could say that all day long. I'd be like, I don't know, I don't trust it. But that isn't necessarily the study. That's me in relation to the study, and I can accept that. Because I can say, I don't know, that politician is saying all the right things, but there's something about them that doesn't jive with me, and I don't know exactly what it is. That doesn't mean that I think they're wrong. It doesn't mean that they have to be different. It just means that I can recognize my vibes with them and go from there, right? Like my biggest conundrum and quandary with, the current political state is the fact that I can see who this man is, but I am oftentimes heartbroken over seeing people that I like or have liked or know to be different, or I've always thought to be different, following somebody who's clearly lying to them, and then following points and causes that they are about, even though it seems to be contrary to what I knew the person originally to be. So they're taking on these politician or this religious, you know, uh, soapbox, and it's not who I remember them to be. And maybe that's my fault because I didn't see them clearly because I saw what I wanted to see in them. Or maybe I did see them clearly and this isn't who they are. But either way, I'm still heartbroken. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be like, well, they're the scum of the earth. No, but I'm not going to interact with them either. Like for a while there, I would, because I had to feel good about standing my point. Like when people make these blatant statements that are just completely false, especially around communities that I know and understand, I'm going to say that's not true. And other people don't believe that either. So I don't know why you believe that. And they're like, oh, you're just mad because blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, I'm contending that what you're saying isn't true for everybody and or ubiquitously. So what is your defense of it then when you know that somebody I thought, that you liked is telling you that, no, that's not true. Like when people were giving me pseudoscience around vaccines, and I'm like, I can understand not trusting the vaccines, and you have to make a choice for you, but don't go out here trying to campaign and do stuff when you're not a scientist, when you're not somebody who's studied it. All you did was listen to a podcast, right? And that's very specific examples and very specific people. But that goes back to, there's good pride, right? Being foundationally sound in who you are. And then there is pathological pride where you think you're better than everybody else, or you should be able to decide for everybody else. Distinctly different, but also not what we're celebrating when we have Pride Month, right? Gay pride is about being proud of who you are, loving yourself, and hopefully loved by those who care about you. So, what do we do with Pride Month when it gets crazy? Well, we recognize that our worthiness does not ride on whether somebody gives us permission to be us or not, right? That was what the whole fight was about in the first place. And yeah, now we can get married, but there's still a lot of things that are very, ambiguous on things. I was a victim of a hate crime in college. It didn't get charged as a hate crime, but I was a victim of one. And I will hand it to it. My people came to my aid, and they came to every court date to testify to me because I couldn't testify for myself because I was knocked unconscious. And he said effing faggot. And it was awful. And I didn't know much about it because I was the one knocked out. But if you've never been attacked physically for who you are or who you love, it's a different life experience. And asking a group for respect is not the same as vilifying them. Now, there are people out there who will say, oh, you're the problem if you do this. But I take them at their words. If anybody talks in absolutes, I don't really trust what they're saying. That's in general, because I know nothing is absolute, right? I mean, the only thing that could possibly be absolute is God, and we're not living in God. God's like, that's not the game we're playing right now. And so what do I do with that? Remember that being proud of who you are, of who you love, of what your life experience is a good thing. Anybody who tells you differently is not your people, because I always contended, I'm like, if I could take the stance that your way of life is not good based on my life experience, and then your only argument to negate mine is that, well, mine is God's way. Well, how do we know? Because there's other people who worship God or gods, and they don't think the same thing as you. So who's right? Why are you right? And then on that matter, why am I right? I'm okay with the fact that I have limited information and I'm doing the best I can. I try to extrapolate that to other people. It's a work in progress for me for that. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that they can be proud in who they are. But what are you putting your pride on? What are you basing it on? If it's being better than, if it's being more than, if it's the being only of, then I don't know that that's fruitful, helpful, or even societally progressive. It sounds regressive. So my friends, happy Pride. If you aren't a part of our community, I love you too. I'm glad you're here, right? Like, I don't need LGBT people, but I am a proudly gay-owned business and a proudly gay podcaster and a proudly gay man. Like, I like being who I am, and I am okay with who I am, and I'm okay with what you could possibly say to me about that, because I guarantee if you started pulling things out of your closet, I would judge you on things too, if I wasn't so open-minded, right? Like, maybe you got some kinks out there that I would go, oh, that's kind of, I don't know about that. But if it seemed natural and normal to you, right? Like, get out of here with all that crap. Be well and be free, friends.